Democracy is supposed to serve the people. But what happens when democracy forgets the people? At the 2025 Democracy Dialogue in Accra, Ghana, Peter Obi raised a warning. He said Nigeria's democracy is under threat because it no longer serves the will and the needs of the people. Let's break down. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more breaking news and interesting stories. Democracy is one of the greatest ideas ever created for human societies. It is built on a very simple truth: power belongs to the people. In a democracy, leaders are not rulers who control the people, but servants chosen by the people to act on their behalf. That is why democracy is always described as government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Peter Obi, speaking at the 2025 Democracy Dialogue in Accra, Ghana, reminded the world of this truth. He explained that democracy is not just about voting every 4 years, or about politicians winning elections. At its core, democracy is about accountability. It is about leaders being answerable to the citizens who put them in power. It is about prioritizing the service of the people above everything else. True democracy means that every decision made by those in government should be guided by the question, does this serve the people? If the answer is no, then it is not democratic. Democracy exists to ensure that citizens live in safety, dignity, and hope. It exists to guarantee security, provide education, deliver healthcare, and help people rise out of poverty. But when democracy loses these values, it begins to die. Peter Obi warned that democracy dies the moment it forgets accountability to the people. It dies when leaders no longer feel responsible for the struggles of ordinary citizens. It dies when public service is replaced by personal gain. Nigeria today is facing this painful reality. The country is supposed to be practicing democracy, but many of its citizens cannot see the benefits of it in their daily lives. When people walk the streets and cannot find jobs, when they go to hospitals and cannot find proper care, when they send their children to schools and discover that learning has no quality, they begin to question what democracy really means. For them, democracy feels like a distant promise that has not been kept. Peter Obi made it clear that democracy is not meant to be distant. It is meant to be close, direct, and present in the lives of ordinary people. It should be felt in the safety of their homes, in the stability of their jobs, in the opportunities for their children, and in the fairness of the system that governs them. When people cannot feel democracy in their everyday lives, then what exists is only democracy in name, not in practice. He also stressed that democracy is not just about systems and institutions, it is about values. The values of honesty, justice, fairness, and compassion must guide leaders who call themselves democratic. Without these values, democracy becomes an empty shell, a tool that is used by a few powerful individuals to hold onto control. Nigeria's democracy, according to Obi, is drifting toward that empty shell. Leaders make promises but fail to keep them. Resources that should go into building schools, hospitals, and industries often end up in private pockets. Policies that should lift people out of poverty end up benefiting only the rich and connected. This is not the spirit of democracy, it is the spirit of betrayal. When democracy functions properly, it creates a bond of trust between leaders and the people. Citizens trust that their leaders will protect them, and leaders respect that they are accountable to those who elected them. But when that bond is broken, democracy becomes weak. Citizens stop believing, and leaders stop caring. At that point, democracy does not serve the people, it only serves itself. Peter Obi's words in Accra were both a warning and a lesson. He wanted the audience to understand that democracy is not guaranteed to survive just because a country has elections. Democracy must be nurtured, protected, and constantly renewed by leaders who act with integrity and by citizens who demand accountability. If either side fails, democracy begins to fade. He also emphasized that democracy should not be reduced to ceremonies or events. It is not about the noise of campaigns, the printing of posters, or the celebrations on election day. Those things are only the surface. True democracy goes deeper. It is the daily reality of whether or not citizens can trust their government. It is the evidence in whether or not children can go to school and learn, whether or not workers can earn fair wages, whether or not farmers can plant and harvest in peace, and whether or not hospitals can treat the sick with dignity. In short, democracy should make life better. If it does not, then it is failing in its most basic duty. And when it fails in that duty, it becomes dangerous. Because once people lose faith in democracy, they begin to look for alternatives. They begin to believe that democracy is a lie, and that belief can open the door to instability. Peter Obi's reminder is simple but powerful: democracy must serve the people, or it will collapse. It must remain accountable, or it will lose its meaning. It must lift people up, or it will drag them down. This is the foundation that Nigeria must return to if its democracy is to survive. That was the heart of his first message at the Democracy Dialogue. Democracy is not dying in Nigeria because of the idea itself, it is dying because it has stopped serving the people. And unless leaders change course and return to the true spirit of democracy, accountability, service, and compassion, the country risks losing the very system that is meant to protect it. Nigeria is called a democratic country, but Peter Obi has made it clear that what we see today is far from true democracy. At the 2025 Democracy Dialogue in Accra, Ghana, he described Nigeria as a typical example of where democracy is dying. His words were not spoken lightly. They came from years of watching how leaders use the system for themselves, while ordinary people suffer more and more each day. He explained that democracy in Nigeria no longer serves the people. Instead of responding to the will of citizens, it has been hijacked by a small group of elites. These are individuals who treat the state like private property. They control access to public resources, not to serve the nation, but to enrich themselves and secure comfort for their families. In a true democracy, the wealth of a nation is supposed to be used to build schools, provide healthcare, create jobs, and improve the quality of life for everyone. But in Nigeria, the story is different. The wealth of the country is often captured and misused. Public funds disappear, projects are abandoned, and promises are left unfulfilled. The result is that millions of Nigerians live in poverty, while a few enjoy luxury. This, Obi said, is the biggest sign that democracy is failing. He pointed out that democracy dies when leaders stop listening to the people. Today in Nigeria, many citizens no longer feel heard. Protests are often ignored, and genuine complaints are brushed aside. People cry for security, but violence and insecurity continue. Farmers are attacked in their fields. Businesses struggle under the weight of poor infrastructure and bad policies. Young people graduate from school but cannot find work. Yet those in power live as though none of this is happening. This gap between leaders and the people is the true danger. When democracy becomes disconnected from the daily lives of citizens, it loses its meaning. For democracy to survive, citizens must feel that their voices count. They must see that their votes bring real change. But in Nigeria today, many feel that elections do not change anything. Leaders rotate, but the problems remain the same. This, Obi explained, is what makes Nigeria's democracy fragile and under threat. He also stressed that the capture of democracy by elites does more than harm the present, it also destroys the future. When young people see that the system is not fair, they lose faith in it. They stop believing in hard work and honest effort because they see corruption and connections as the only way to succeed. This is how a society loses its soul. And once hope is lost, democracy stands on very shaky ground. Peter Obi's warning was direct: Nigeria's democracy has become a tool for personal and family interests. Those who are supposed to serve the people now serve themselves. Those who should protect public resources now divert them into private pockets. This has weakened trust in the system and deepened the suffering of the masses. He reminded the audience that democracy is not supposed to look like this. It is not meant to be a game of the powerful. It is supposed to be a shield for the weak, a platform for fairness, and a structure that guarantees justice. But in Nigeria, the shield is broken, the platform is shaky, and justice is often denied. That is why he described Nigeria's democracy as being under threat. And the threat is not just to the system, but to the nation itself. When citizens feel abandoned, frustration grows. When people see that leaders are not accountable, anger rises. And when anger and frustration mix, the risk of instability becomes real. A democracy that does not serve the people is like a house built on sand. It cannot stand for long. Obi made it clear that Nigeria's democracy is in this dangerous zone. Leaders act without accountability, policies ignore the real needs of the people, and the gap between the rich and the poor continues to widen. If nothing changes, democracy itself will collapse, leaving behind only the shell of elections without meaning. This was the heart of his second message in Accra. Democracy is dying in Nigeria, not because the idea itself has failed, but because it has been captured and corrupted by those who should protect it. It is dying because leaders no longer listen, no longer serve, and no longer care about the will of the people. For democracy to live again, this cycle must be broken. But before any change can happen, Nigerians must first recognize the truth: the system, as it stands, is failing. And when a system fails, it must be rebuilt, not ignored. After warning about how democracy is failing in Nigeria, Peter Obi did not end his message with despair. At the 2025 Democracy Dialogue in Accra, Ghana, he turned his words toward hope. He reminded everyone that while Nigeria's democracy is under threat, it is not beyond saving. The future can still be different. But to achieve that, Nigerians must take democracy seriously, and they must choose leaders who truly serve the people. Obi explained that the first step in rebuilding democracy is elections. Elections are the gateway to leadership. If Nigerians continue to elect leaders who lack competence, character, and compassion, then the cycle of failure will continue. Democracy will remain a broken promise. But if Nigerians rise to the challenge and use their votes wisely, democracy can begin to heal. He made it clear that democracy is not a game of chance. It is not about voting for the loudest voice, the richest politician, or the most connected elite. It is about choosing men and women who have the capacity to lead, the compassion to care, the character to stand for what is right, and the commitment to serve the people above themselves. These qualities, Obi said, are what Nigeria desperately needs in its leaders today. He also reminded the audience that democracy is a partnership between citizens and leaders. It cannot survive if citizens remain passive. Nigerians must not only demand better leadership, they must also hold those leaders accountable after elections. A leader who fails to deliver must be challenged. A government that does not serve the people must be questioned. In true democracy, citizens do not remain silent, they speak up, organize, and demand justice. Obi's call was not just about politics, it was about responsibility. He said Nigerians must take democracy seriously because the future of the nation depends on it. When people sell their votes, ignore corruption, or remain silent in the face of injustice, they weaken democracy. But when they defend their rights, insist on transparency, and support leaders who show integrity, they make democracy stronger. He stressed that the process will not be easy. Building a new Nigeria requires courage and sacrifice. It requires citizens who are willing to look beyond short-term gains and think about long-term progress. It requires leaders who are willing to place the nation above their personal interests. It requires a shift in values, from selfishness to service, from greed to fairness, from corruption to honesty. Peter Obi also spoke about the power of hope. He insisted that Nigerians must not give up on their country. Even though the present looks dark, change is possible. A new Nigeria can rise if the people believe in it and work toward it. He encouraged Nigerians not to lose faith in democracy but to reclaim it. Because democracy, when practiced correctly, is still the best path for building a just, peaceful, and prosperous nation. He concluded his message with a vision: a Nigeria where democracy works for everyone, not just a few. A Nigeria where leaders are accountable and citizens are respected. A Nigeria where young people can dream and see their dreams become reality. A Nigeria where public resources are used for the common good, not for private pockets. A Nigeria where elections bring real change, and every citizen feels the power of their vote. This vision is not impossible. It begins with choices, choices by citizens to demand better, choices by leaders to serve with integrity, and choices by institutions to protect fairness and justice. Every nation that has built a strong democracy has done it step by step, choice by choice. Nigeria can do the same. Obi's final words carried both urgency and optimism. He said clearly, a new Nigeria is possible. These words are more than a slogan. They are a challenge to Nigerians to take responsibility for their future. They are a call to action to defend democracy, to reject corruption, and to elect leaders who embody competence, compassion, character, and commitment. He wanted the world to understand that democracy is not dying in Nigeria because the idea has failed. It is dying because people in power have abandoned the idea. But just as people can destroy democracy, people can also rebuild it. The power is in the hands of Nigerians. The question is whether they will use it wisely. In the end, Obi's message was simple but powerful. Nigeria's democracy is under threat, but it is not lost. It can be revived. It can be strengthened. And it can once again become a system that truly serves the people. But only if Nigerians take it seriously, only if they rise to the challenge and demand the leadership they deserve. The call is clear: Nigeria must not give up on democracy. Nigerians must fight for it, protect it, and build it anew. Because in the struggle for a better future, giving up is not an option. And with conviction in his voice, Peter Obi left the audience with hope. A new Nigeria is possible, but only if the people believe in it, work for it, and never stop demanding it.